when people get into real estate, I just tell them, like, it sucks. It sucks sometimes. Like, it's very rewarding, fulfilling. But I'll be honest, like, as a grown man, there's been days that I've just, like, broken down. Like, this is too much, like, especially with the team and all the other things that are going on. But I think being vulnerable and, like, being honest with people is, like, the main thing. Like, I empower the individual agent. I share my stories. I want them to grow faster than I did. I want them to succeed and not learn lessons the hard way like I did. So that's part of it. Setting the right expectations, that's a big thing. But I know everybody's not going to be like me. And
hey, welcome to Vision Studios. This is your host, Luis Robles, and this is my awesome partner right here, Peter South. Honestly, I love Peter, and that's why I recruited him to be in our podcast. And as you guys know, he's sponsoring our channel with this awesome property that we live in. He manages short-term rentals. So if you guys want to know more about him, please find them in the link down below. So Peter, how are you today?
Oh man, I'm doing awesome. I love podcasting with you, Luis. Your energy is so good. And today we have a really awesome guest. Karsten Collin is here, and this guy he has a motor on him, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say about his vision for he's in real estate and how he wants to grow his team and build a real estate empire. So Collin is here in Karsten.
Okay, I get it all the time.
Karsten, I looked down at my notes and I said, that's not his name. Karsten is here. He runs a really successful team here in the Phoenix area. So Karsten, welcome to our podcast. We're excited to learn all about you.
Thank you, guys. This is awesome.
So Karsten, you are in real estate business. Phoenix is one of the top real estate markets in the nation, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
I think expected growth in the Phoenix market is still like 1 million people to add to this market in the next 10 years. So there's no shortage in real estate. But I'll tell you what, there are hundreds and hundreds of real estate agents in this city. And if you are not best friends with like 4 real estate agents, you're doing it wrong, because there are so many. But
that's true.
So here you are. You are in the Phoenix area. You run a team. Tell us a little about your team here in Phoenix.
So my team has transformed quite a bit over the last few years, actually. So I'm a second generation agent, and my dad's been doing real estate for 35, 40 years now. And he definitely takes a lot of those successful traditional methods of real estate and still implements them today. But when I got licensed and started joining the business 5 years ago, we needed to bring a fresh, modern, new age approach. And so today, now I run the team with my father and my wife. So it's truly a family business.
That's great.
We absolutely love it. We're very blessed. We've got big targets, big goals, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the teams in real estate. So back when I first had my mentor in real estate in the 1900s, back in the old days.
I think you said the 1800s.
I had there were not teams. It was very much an individual game, and so I love the team. Now you said your dad was in real estate,
Right.
And he started out just as a solo kind of guy?
Yeah, we got a lot of Midwestern blood in the Valley, right? And so he relocated from Chicago like a lot of other people. And when he came out here, I think it was the 80s, he started helping friends and family and other people buy properties out here. So over the years, like, he had another business, but he would do real estate on the side for himself and for other friends. And that kind of turned into like a side hustle, kind of before side hustles were really, I guess, a thing. But yeah, like, once he sold his business, it really became his full-time jam.
Okay.
And he did really well, and he didn't really mean to. He's just kind of like doing what he does. He's a salesman at heart. He's a connector just like me. So, sometimes people are like, maybe trying not to be so much like their parents, but we really are. And I love him. He's great. And it's been a blessing to work so closely with family.
Has he been your mentor for the past couple of years?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, working with family is not easy. And so, I think with anything, in any business, you kind of pick and pull from what resonates with you, right? And that's the same thing with my team and my agents. And so there's some things that my dad does that I do completely differently. Okay. And then there's so many things that I do very similarly to my father that are extremely successful. So yes, he's absolutely a mentor to me. And then there's a lot of other people in the space that I've learned from and kind of just meshed all these things together that ended up being very successful for my personality and the style of real estate that I do.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's creating your own style is one of the keys of like being a business owner.
Right.
As you were getting into real estate and you saw what your dad had done, you saw other people. What are some of the things that you were noticing like this? I can do this better in real estate, or I can do this different to sort of disrupt. You feel like a little bit of a, how can I be a positive disruptor? I don't know if that's a thing, but
that is
a positive disruptor. If that's the thing, I just coined it, trademark.
That's trademark now. I mean, it's funny. There is a group. It's called the Real Estate Disruptors, and it's Steve Trang. And like when I was getting licensed, I would listen to a lot of him. And I think being a disruptor is a good thing, even though sometimes it has negative consequences for other businesses. I think the one thing that it comes down to when I was getting licensed is I am extremely relationship based. So, you know, some people might need that check at the end of the month or might need that deal to feed their family. And I get it. Like that's a tough position to be in, but it changes the interaction with prospects and people that you're trying to serve. And so when I first got licensed, you know, of course, learning the strategies and the methods and real estate in general from my father and then other people in the space, it was just the fact that I felt the relationship point was missing, like entirely. And so when others would be so quick to maybe go into their script and see what they should retort back to somebody's objection, I really like just wanted to know what they're trying to accomplish and what their story is. And through those just like organic relationships, we solve problems and then we help get them where they want to go.
So it's mostly about helping people, right? Rather than
100%.
just basically making a transaction out of people. You actually
100%.
try to help them out.
Oh, absolutely. Like it just felt wrong to me how like transactional real estate could be. And like where I am at today, honestly, it's funny going back to when I was new, I can see why it gets transactional. Like we're extremely busy and very blessed, but I don't want to lose that relationship aspect of the business. And so that was the main thing for me at the beginning, just figuring out how to develop deep relationships with people in my marketplace, the ones that I'm trying to serve. And I would say, yeah, that's probably the main differentiator. There's a lot of other things too. Like I love to hustle. Like some people don't like to work. So.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, so that's really important, especially you're doing buying and selling of homes, and it really is the single most important decision anybody makes.
Absolutely.
Where am I going to live? Where am I going to put? Now it's $800,000-$900,000. Starter homes are $500,000. We're in a house right now that is probably worth $900,000. That
I know. I was trying to buy it, and you're like, "Are you sure, Luis, about that?"
That could have been bought for $320,000 not that long ago.
Yeah.
So you're really part of someone's like family experience. Have you ever had a client or an owner or a buyer or so that was like, you're like, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't buy this house.
Yeah.
Have you've had to turn away business because it was in the best needs of a client? Have you ever had that kind of experience?
All the time.
Really?
You know, and I'm a story seller, right? So I don't like telling people what to do, but I want to be an advisor. And I remember like vividly when I was a new agent, it's exciting showing houses and, maybe I didn't have as much experience, but something in my gut was like, this is a bad house. And it was actually my sister-in-law. She loved this house. And I was like, this is not a good house. Like, this is not a good deal. And so I told her, I was like, if you really want this house, like, because she wanted it bad. She wanted me to make the offer. And I was like, you're going to have to write it with somebody else. And that, like, I really think showed her that, like, this house was not in her best interest. And now they're in a property today that all the time when I see them, like, I'm so blessed that I have this house. And that's how it usually works out. So I've definitely turned down business or just, told people that I probably can't help them in their situation, both buyers and sellers.
So you have turned down offers that you think they're not the best fit for that person, right?
Absolutely, man.
And that's one of the things I like about you. It's like you're very honest with people. It's like whether I can take you or not, I'm still gonna help you, right?
Right.
And obviously, it's been like super like crazy market nowadays. What are some of the ways that you get to work around this market? Because obviously it's mostly people say it's a seller's market rather than a buyer's. How can you tell people, like, what are some of the things that they should be looking into for real estate now? Obviously, because it's getting really expensive, especially for a first home buyer.
Right.
What are some of the tips you will give me for me to buy my first property?
I would say first, it's never too early to plan. Like, I get calls from people, they're like 30 days out from their lease, and they're like, I got to buy a house. I'm like, we should have talked about this a year ago.
Okay.
I have connections, now like really great connections that we developed over the years to just start planning early. You know, you can do things now to boost your credit, and, you know, lenders can kind of manipulate things to figure out where they're going to be credit wise so they get the best interest rate, because interest rates are tough right now. But in addition, you know, I'm the type of agent that wants to start showing people properties long before they're on the home search, right? So if they only get to look at 6 homes and then have to make an offer, I don't like that. I want them to look at dozens and dozens of homes, explore all the different areas, see what they get for the price. And that way they're really confident in the decision. So I'm super patient. I'm all about education. First-time home buyers are probably more exciting to me than like the $3-4 million houses. But I like those too. Those are super cool. And so at the end of the day, I would say for buyers, it's not always a good time to buy. And I hear a lot of agents say that, but it's kind of like people want to time the market. And I think it's time in the market. Like, that's absolutely true. So yes, if you're in a good financial spot, you have job security, buying a house might be a good fit, but you should also maybe know where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years. If you're going to potentially be moving in a few years, or like, you know, rentals, they're actually kind of declining right now. And so if you run your numbers with interest rates, like, we do a lot of investment stuff as well, but people come to me and they're like, I want an investment property. I'm like, okay, well, it's different now than it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we could find anything that would cash flow. You'd probably relate to this, Peter. Like, it's different now.
Yes, it's very different now.
Very different now. And so some real estate agents are still preaching like, yes, and let's just do it. Let's jump in, and people get themselves in bad spots. I just want to make sure people are really well educated. And a lot of times my first-time home buyers end up being so well educated, they're repeat buyers every year. They're like, man, I really understand these strategies and these concepts, and here's where I want to do, or here's what I want to do and where I want to go with this. And so I've had one client, he's bought like 3 houses in 3 years. Him and his wife are both nurses, and they,
nice.
you know, they're doing really well, and they're leveraging their assets. So I just think that's cool to see. Like, real estate's a tool to be used, and I advocate for using it.
Yeah, when's the best time to buy a house?
Yeah.
Right now.
There's never.
If you ask anybody, I mean, look, Luis, my first mortgage was 7%. So,
Yeah.
and I bought a house for $140,000, and now it's worth $500,000.
Great.
So,
I mean, I truly
I
believe
guess.
that, like, we're going to be in a renter's generation before we know it. And, you know, with how much investment we have in the marketplace, like just cash buyers, like BlackRock buying up properties all day, it's crazy. Like, as interest rates go up, there's still so many cash buyers. I think those properties are never going to come back on the market again. And so, you know, I always tell people, like, I think my kids are being raised in a renter's generation, so I'm continuing to buy as much real estate as possible, but wisely. You know, I'm not just like throwing deals out there without any due diligence and whatnot. But yeah, it's kind of a crazy market. I don't have a crystal ball, but education's everything.
So education is one of the tips you would say people. It's like before they buy any property, they should educate themselves. Or actually,
100%.
the agent that they're picking up, it should be educating them. So
True.
that's one of the things that myself as a first-time home buyer, I'm not educated at all on real estate. So by hearing all this, I'm learning like how I'm going to buy my first property, right? And obviously you develop a bunch of networking during the years and people recommend you, but you think networking is important for the business that you're in?
Oh gosh, like the old saying, the network's the net worth, right? Like, that's a real thing. But being a relationship-based person, like, I want to make sure that the people in my network are the most reputable people that I can refer to my clients. Because truly, everything's my fault in real estate. Like, you know, I had one deal recently, like, little things, like maybe a cleaning or just, you know, a light bulb not working. And it's like, that's my fault. It's really not my fault, but I take the blame, I take responsibility. And so if I refer someone, I want to make sure that they're being handled, with care, right? And so we take a lot on our shoulders as agents, and we honestly solve more problems than people realize, especially on the back end. People don't realize how much goes into real estate, but network is everything. And through the years, like, we've really developed just such a solid network from title reps and home warranties and lenders. Like, that's probably the biggest relationship that we could have. Best lenders in the game. Shout out to KJ. He's been the man for us and our clients.
How did you meet up with these lenders? Because like a bunch of real estate people that try to build up their team, like you're like yourself. How did you meet with these people?
You know, it's funny because, like, I have great lenders that we've worked with over the years, and we procure a lot of business together. Like, I'm about mutually beneficial relationships, right? I don't like to just take. There's a lot of people in real estate that just take from their sponsors, from, you know, all their partners. And I'm like, that's never resonated with me. And so, you know, I want to provide value. How can we create relationships together? You know, what marketplaces are you in and what marketplaces am I in? And how can we brand together? How can we provide value together? And so like lenders, you know, it's funny, my lender now is one of my best friends from high school. So people think I just use him because he's like a good friend from high school. And that is not the case. Like I use him because he's got a real estate background. And so he has investment properties just like myself. So he knows the game. He provides options just like I do. And like I said, we're paid to solve problems. So we just present solutions and walk through the process. And next thing you know, people are empowered to make decisions for themselves. And, you know, it's awesome to have partners like that.
The cool thing is like you guys been friends for high school for a long time, right? So establishing that trust with somebody like that and also knows about real estate, like how you mentioned, have you guys had any, like not issues between you, but I would say any issues with some houses that you have, like some stories of some houses that you were going to sell and they didn't sold because something was wrong with that house? Have you had anything happen like that to you?
There's always learning lessons. And to be honest, we have a really good working relationship. So nothing where it's got like heated.
Okay.
You know, other lenders or like agents might point fingers, but we're both point fingers inward. And so at the end of the day, there's one deal that comes to mind. And I used to always say, I've never lost a deposit and I never will. And I told this one specific client, KJ and I were working it together. The same thing I tell every client. If, you know, I lose your deposit, I'll make sure to pay it back. You know, these clients specifically had a $10,000 deposit down on a house. And
it's already hurting me by saying 10,000.
I know. And that's the thing with the real estate agent, you need to know the contract, right? And I know the contract really well. I actually put these clients in the best position possible to keep this deposit. They went almost 3 weeks past their closing date, and I still was able to keep them under contract, keep that deposit refundable. But at the end of the day, they couldn't perform, and they knew it was their fault, but I still wanted to make it right and stand by what I said. And so today, they still haven't bought a house, but when they do, I told them that I'll make it right with them. And if I don't negotiate that $10,000, which I'm pretty confident I can do at this point, I'll pay it myself. Because we as real estate agents, we can't like just throw money around to people like, yeah, let me give you $10,000. That's illegal. But
you give me $10,000?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
We're in need of $10,000.
Well, there's a lot of shady stuff in real estate too.
Yeah,
that also didn't resonate with me. So I like being honest and ethical, and it's crazy. So like with partners and stuff too, like people paying for things, and that's what I'm saying. I don't want, you know, your money to sponsor my event. I want to sponsor an event together and, you know, make sure we're both getting value out of things like that. And so I know, Peter, you're super involved in the real estate community. I love seeing you involved. You've always provided value to your clients and to us as real estate agents. And so I just think that's awesome. That's how it should be.
Yeah, I love that. Point fingers inward is what I wrote down. That's good. Like you take the responsibility, and I think that's a really important lesson for business owners. Like, be responsible above and beyond.
Right.
And that really builds trust, is what you were talking about. I mean, trust in relationships. This is really good.
Yeah. So it wasn't fun. I mean, going back to what we learned, you know, could I have pushed a little bit more to get them uncomfortable? But that's the thing. I don't want someone to be uncomfortable. Essentially, they needed to sell a house before they bought a house. And that's a contingency, right? We navigate contingencies all the time. And KJ had put them in a position to close on their home without selling their other asset. And we were encouraging them to do that. Hey, just close. We'll get your house sold. But they were very hesitant because they pulled funds from their 401k in order to buy the other house. And then they would have had to sell their house within a certain period of time to put the funds back. So I don't pretend to know everything on the lending side. I trust KJ to do that. And, you know, I have other partners that could come up with situations. But ultimately, this deal was with KJ. And, you know, even he was like, man, I probably should have pushed them more just to do it. And I remember I was in Disneyland at the time with my family, and I was like, guys, you should just close on the house and we'll figure it out. You know, like it'll be okay. And I spent a lot of my vacations on the phone. That's kind of the joke. Like when you go on vacation, you get the most busy. But
when you get busy, you get busy. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's crazy. But I should have pushed them a little bit harder and just said, you know, just do it and we'll get through it. But they were just uncomfortable with the thought of owning 2 properties. They lived in that house for like 30 years.
Okay.
And, you know, the house they were under contract on was absolutely amazing. But looking back at the time when they were looking to purchase and where things are at now, I think we'll be okay. You know, so my situations usually work themselves out that way. We still have a good relationship. But that was the one deposit I've lost. And so I tell people now, hey, I've lost one deposit. I'm not going to lose any again, unless it's your fault. Like, it's on you this time, So anyway, that's
because 10 grand is 10 grand. You know what I mean? Nobody's gonna.
even $1,000 is a lot of money. I treat everybody's money like it's my own. So.
I would say even $20 is a
$20,
lot of
that's what
money.
I'm saying. Like,
You have to work
every
hard to
penny,
earn it.
man. I negotiate every penny like it's my own. So it can get heated.
Yeah, well, so like in your business, you are really responsible for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is a big responsibility, and to me, it sounds like you really shoulder that, you personally. But I was thinking about all the things you're talking about, and you build relationships, being an advisor, educating, point inward, collaboration. That's watching you and knowing you a little bit. That comes natural to you, and you're building. My question is, you're building a team.
Right.
And for those of you out there who have ever hired anybody or put together teams or all you business owners out there, what's in your brain, trying to download that into someone else's brain is impossible. It doesn't exist. Right. So tell me about how are you inculcating this into your team as you bring on and build this team?
That's been the difficult part, because I'm very honest with everybody, including my team members. So like when people get into real estate, I just tell them like, it sucks. It sucks sometimes. Like it's very rewarding, fulfilling. But I'll be honest, like as a grown man, there's been days that I've just like broken down. Like this is too much. Like especially with the team and all the other things that are going on. But I think being vulnerable and like being honest with people is like the main thing. Like I empower the individual agent. I share my stories. I want them to grow faster than I did. I want them to succeed and not learn lessons the hard way like I did. So that's part of it. Setting the right expectations, that's a big thing. But I know everybody's not going to be like me, and not everybody wants to be like me, and they shouldn't want to be like me. They should be themselves. And so I really like have them look inward and figure out who it is that they are and why they got into this space. Most of the time, agents are lying to you if they think they're just in real estate to help others. I'm just telling you that right now. Like people get into real estate to make money, and that's why it's such a high failure rate. Most people don't succeed because it's hard. If people are coming here just to say I want to help others, but they're not volunteering every weekend, they're full of shit. I'm not gonna lie. So I don't know if we're allowed to swear, but they're full of it. Like, be honest. Like, I got into real estate to make a lot of money, to buy back my time, to spend time with my family, to get a better financial future for myself, and I know that. So I just make sure my agents know why they're here. Because I think when I first got in, other than making a lot of money, I didn't know what my why was. And at the time, I didn't, I had a kid on the way, but it transforms, and I just want people to identify that first, as opposed to just going through the motions and just trying to chase down a deal and be that kind of person that, I don't know, I wouldn't personally want to work with. I don't know if that makes sense.
Have you had anybody in your team that just walked out on you or just cursed at you?
I mean,
because I know, like, obviously, like, the real estate market is hard.
Yeah.
But those people that just walked out on you and just told you, hey, F you, this and that, or
Definitely.
I'm done.
And it started with like when my dad, so like at first we were the Gary Colin group, right? And then it was my dad's team, and we were kind of figuring things out, and we weren't sure where it was going and what was happening, but I was just worried about my business. My dad wanted me to come in and like lead his team. I'm like, how can I lead a team? I haven't even sold anything yet, like I've sold very little. And then I quickly become a top producer, and then, the next thing I know, I'm like, I could definitely lead a team. Do I want to lead a team? Not always, I'll be honest. It probably would have been way easier for me to hire like 2 full-time admin and then just keep selling. They would have scaled my business. But I do think having a team around you is the most important. Like when I go on vacations, I have people I can rely on, not just my father, but other people in my network that I trust with my clients fully. So I have had people leave, but I'm not surprised. I kind of know, and now I make sure to set clear expectations. I'm very selective with who I bring on, because I just make sure the expectation is they have to be self-sufficient. They need to value my time. If there's a question that they could Google and they don't Google it before asking me, I was up on YouTube University until 4 a.m. when I had the bug learning about real estate, and I expect them to do the same. And so maybe that's not fair, but if you want to be successful, you got to do the things that 99% people won't do, right? And that's how you get in the 1%. So.
Imagine that. Well, obviously, like you say, YouTube University. A lot of people nowadays are going into YouTube to learn about real estate.
Right.
is that one of the ways you train yourself on how to?
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
What are some of the things you learned from there?
Everything. Just anything. You can learn anything online, and then I picked and pulled from all these people. So like as an agent, like when I first got licensed, it was funny. I was actually really distracted to get into like wholesaling and investment. It just sounded cool, and you're fixing flipping.
You sound just like me. I get my attention span is like 2 seconds, and
I'm
it just
ADHD,
goes. It's gone.
bro. It's like I have all these. It's like shiny object syndrome, right? And I had to channel that, and I really just decided, to do the one thing, right? And it was just focus on residential real estate sales. And so now we're getting into more stuff. You guys are more established and have systems. But dude, I was up till 3 or 4 in the morning watching like Max Maxwell. I'm trying to think. Ricky Carruth was on the residential side, but Steve Trang and like the real estate disruptors and people in his community. And then like it's funny, like back then, someone in my upline today, his name is Templeton Walker, like I would listen to him, and like I've seen him kind of grow over the years too, but he was always doing wholesale investment, and that was super attractive. But I set out to sell real estate, so that's what I did. And so now I can get into other ventures because I put in the time to become successful. I think a lot of people just kind of change plans once it doesn't work out for them, and they don't grind through those 2 or 3 years. So I tell all my agents, it's gonna take 2 or 3 years. There was a moment like 2 years in where like I was talking and I felt like I actually knew what I was talking about, and it just clicked, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing, like this is cool. But it took a long time to get there.
How stressful it is? Like I know you talked about the team, but is it very stressful to manage a team? Because right now in my business, I'm in a position where it's just me.
Right.
Is it stressful to manage people? Like, cause some people, like we were talking about it yesterday, Peter, and he's like, yeah, we can build this company, we can build that company, but what happens when Juanita gets sick?
Sure.
How do you deal with those situations like that, when people are just not showing up and they're not putting less attention? I would say like, how do you deal with the firing? Let's just say that.
Thankfully I haven't had to like just say, hey, it's not a good fit. I kind of cut those people out before they come on board for the most part. Like I make sure to meet with them and align with them before like bringing them in. And it's not like we have this huge team, right? Like, and to me, the goal isn't to have like a team of 200 people where I don't get to know the people that are working with me. And I look at it as a partnership. So I don't necessarily have this goal to be like the biggest agent in the state or anything like that. I want deep relationships with anybody I know, and my agents most importantly. So I haven't had to fire anybody, but people have left, and it's hurt. Some people that surprised me, some people that definitely didn't surprise me, but that's part of it. And so I heard a rule recently, I can't remember who said it, but it was more or less for like employees and kind of replacing yourself. And it was like, just find somebody who can do what you do 70% and get 2 of them. So that way, it's never going to be you. It's not going to be perfect.
See, Peter, it's never going to be you.
It's not, I can micromanage, so I have to let go a little bit. Like, not everybody's going to do the same things that I do or think the way I think. But I don't know. I thought that was an interesting rule. I haven't implemented it myself because we are kind of like a 1099 industry. Like people are responsible for their own deals. I don't hire anybody W-2 because if I did, I would have, here's what you do in the morning. You wake up, you do this, that, and people don't want to be told what to do, especially if they get into real estate, right? So
just want to do that
that's the hardest part about it too. Like it's funny when you have a 9 to 5, you'll show up when they tell you, you'll leave when you are ready to go home. But when you're self-employed, you make up all the reasons like why not to do that thing you said you were going to do at 5 or 6 in the morning. So I don't know. I definitely tell my agents, I'm not going to make you wake up and cold call for 3 hours. But when I was new, I loved cold calling. I would door knock, and they're like, "You're crazy," and I'm like, "I don't know, sure."
Because you're trying to be successful in your business, obviously,
Right.
and you're trying to. The way I see it nowadays, it's like you're trying to create a brand for yourself, right? Because that's what people are gonna know you for, the guy that actually pushed all the way to the top because he was working hard.
Right.
Do you think in any business, obviously, it takes hard work, it takes a lot of sacrifices to build up any company, right? Like myself, I sacrifice. Obviously, you sacrifice a lot of things. What are some of the main things you have to sacrifice for you to build up your company?
Real estate specifically is weekends. Like weekends don't exist. I always think weekends are a made up thing anyway, but weekends don't exist. My Monday, I joke my Friday is like a Tuesday, So, and my Friday's a Monday. So like to me, every day is a working day. I mean, as you guys are business owners, you could probably relate. And so, that was one of the sacrifice weekends, because coming from like college and stuff, like you live for the weekend.
From Friday nights, Saturday nights.
So no weekends. I didn't have to sacrifice a lot with my family, but I've noticed like throughout this last year that I could be with my family and not be with my family and like present, right?
Yeah,
So I've been focused on being present because I would be with my family more than a lot of other, friends or family members that I know that have kids. But if I'm not present, what's the point? So that's maybe a sacrifice that
Sacrificing the family.
I've acknowledged.
building up your
There's always
business.
sacrifice.
Because you got to give up something for something in return,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And most people nowadays, they don't want to sacrifice their time.
It's
They're
true.
not willing to sacrifice their time, and they just want to make the millions, right? And obviously, what we've seen from you, it's like sacrificing does play a role in any business. Another thing I wanted to ask you is like, how long have you had this company for?
So
I know you
I've
said
been-
your dad
Right.
was with for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
But how about you?
it's funny because when I first got started as an agent, I didn't look at myself as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Like I was still kind of figuring out like how I wanted to position myself and how can I provide value. At the time, I was trying to sell people homes. I was renting. So like who's going to buy a house from someone who's renting? It just felt off to me, and a lot of my agents say this too. It's kind of like imposter syndrome, or like But I'm like, well, you got to educate yourself, and you got to feel like you can provide value if you actually want to provide value, or figure out what kind of value you provide. I came from a contract background, so I leaned into that. Our team did a lot of successful things, so I leaned into that. But like Colin & Co., which we'll still probably see some transitions over the years, 2 years maybe. But as an agent, 5 going on 6 years. And so it's constantly adapting. I feel like any business is. But like I finally felt like an actual entrepreneur probably within the last, 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's really interesting about you say I finally felt like an entrepreneur because there are so many people in the nation. There are so many people that want to be real estate agents, and a lot of them don't treat it like they're running a business. You're all running small businesses. Hey, listen up. Anyone that's a real estate agent listening right now or wants to be a real estate agent, you are running a small business. You have to treat it like a small business, right? And so what can you tell like aspiring real estate agents, like this is the mindset you need to have. Like think about these things before you're going to do
Into the
this.
real estate market.
Right. With my new agents now, like I get them incorporating early. Like I get them to like understand tax. Like I'm kind of a nerd about taxes, probably because like after I started shelling out a bunch in taxes and then understanding the tax benefits of being like a real estate professional, like why am I not using those things? Teach them about investment. Like I read a stat. It was like, I think it was less than 20% of real estate agents actually own rental properties. So 80% of real estate agents don't actually like take the advice of, what they're preaching and like financial freedom.
So they don't
and
practice
passive
what they
income.
preach.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, I don't know. I just try to tell people early on, like, you have to educate yourself before you can educate others. Sometimes through educating others, you kind of instill it in yourself, but
Because a lot of people, what I've seen is like a lot of people have the knowledge, but they don't do anything without knowledge.
that's
You
true.
seem like you've done a lot of things without knowledge, which is major changing for you from just being a regular real estate agent to somebody that's actually implementing those concepts.
Right.
So do you say like, obviously knowledge is important, but what you do with the knowledge is more important than just gaining the knowledge?
Absolutely. And it's funny because a lot of people just don't take action. They get like that analysis paralysis. I think we talked about this before, but it's like, I could do this and I could do that, and I want to get all these things in order before I go door knock. And I'm like, just go knock on a door, and then once somebody tells you to like screw off, you'll be like, all the stuff you compiled didn't matter. All that data about the house didn't matter.
Yep.
So I'm all about just like putting myself in an uncomfortable position. I think that's where I thrive. But there's a saying that's also resonated with me where it's like, people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care, right?
Okay.
And it's like, and that's so true, because I can know all this stuff, but if, I don't care about their situation or care about what they're trying to accomplish, they're not going to want information from me. And so it's hard, there's a lot of different people and characters and types and, the real estate space, just in the service industry, right? But I grew up always having friends in different groups and, getting along with just about everybody. So I think that's also served me pretty well.
For sure. But so looking to the future, I mean, Colin & Co. You have Colin & Co. What it's going to be, I think it's sort of, you don't know yet, is my sense.
Yet,
but Karsten's looking into his future. What's your vision for the Colin & Co.? What's the Karsten vision for the next, 5 to 8 years?
It's changed. I thought I had the vision, and then you know how it changes, right? So I was gonna go the broker route, and as I started talking to more people, I'll be honest, I was thinking about getting into property management too. And I was just talking to all these people, and they're like, well, if you go the broker route, you got a lot of liability. You got to be really on it with your docs. And the more we started talking about it, I was like, I don't want to be a broker.
All these challenges
I
we're
love
facing,
sales. Yeah. I didn't want to exit my position now to do something else. I really do like dealing with people and solving their problems. And so I like to lead from the front, and I'm not going to stop selling. But I was going the broker route, and then I changed, and I was like, I don't want to do property management. That's a lot of work, and you probably tell me all about that. It's a lot, man. It's crazy.
It is a lot of work. I got to fix a doorknob, I think, in this house after this podcast.
Like, if you think you have a honey-do list with just your house, imagine like hundreds of houses. Yes. It's insane.
Big honey-do list.
Right. So, I thought I had this vision, and it's changed, but I want to empower the individual agent. And I think through doing that, like, my market share and my brand will grow, and that would be the biggest benefit to me. I don't, honestly, like, some teams just charge a fortune and don't provide a lot of value. I try to, provide a lot of value, and the money will come. But I don't want to be like a 200-person team. Maybe it'll get there at some point. I just want like-minded individuals that I can trust and rely on to support our community in the way that I have. And, it would be cool to be like in the top 10 in the state at some point. Like, I am competitive, so I'm kind of lying to say like I don't want to be the best agent out there. I do, but I'm not going to let that drive me to the point where I make more sacrifices with my family and things. Like, family is everything to me. And, kids are young. This is the time to hang
enjoy
out
with them. Yeah. Every time I see my baby, I'm like, I don't want to go to work, but I have to go to work to
Right.
provide for you guys.
Yeah.
So family seems like a very important thing for you as well.
It is. It really is. And so obviously being in a family business too, that's not easy. But I think it also helps us stay close. And I get to spend so much time with my wife. It's absolutely amazing. And of course the kids too. But like, that's everything to me. I feel like a lot of people split up and they don't see each other. And maybe that's a good thing too for some relationships. Like, we got a little break from each other.
I don't have little breaks from my wife.
Yeah, but I love being with my wife.
Yeah,
I
love being with my wife.
We're always rolling and riding together, and I think that keeps us really strong.
I think she's gonna kill me because I didn't bring my marriage ring right now.
I never wear my ring. I usually take it off.
Peter, you have it on too.
I used to get in trouble because I would take it off at night, and I just leave it on now. But I think what you said is interesting. Your vision is sort of, you don't know, but you want to just empower people. But also, I think I can hear you talking about family. So I think all the business owners out there, especially if you have young kids, and you said it earlier, be present. And my wife has said to me many times, be present, Peter. And I think that's a real good.
I think I've said that to you too.
Well, you know what, business owners, and Karsten said it, it's very difficult to be present when you're at Disneyland and someone's like, this deal's going crazy. I've been everywhere also on the phone dealing with stuff. And so I hear you say, as a business owner, be mindful to be present with the people that matter to you. Don't give up your family for the deal for somebody. Put some boundaries on it, right?
Right. And it's funny too, because as new agents like start asking me questions, I'm like, if you were a really successful agent, would you just have time to go show this house within 30 minutes? No, absolutely not. So when you're new, people don't, understand, like, you just want to go serve and serve and serve. But value your time. You know what I mean? And once you start valuing your time, it's crazy how things change. And so, yes, like if somebody has an emergency, I'll pick up right away. But there's some times where I'm like, I'll call them back, and I'll call them back as soon as possible. And I know my time frames within the contract, and I know when things are super important and when things aren't. And sometimes it's important to the client, we'll take care of them. But at the end of the day, if I'm in Disneyland, I'm no longer waiting in line, talking on the phone for 45 minutes, and then calling the kids up to the front with my wife, to get on the ride. I'm present, and I'm not perfect with that.
I think it's one of the things I have to learn, because sometimes I answer the phone when I don't supposed to answer the phone.
Right.
So I'm like, and my wife just looks at me like, "Are you gonna hang up? You have to have some family quality time."
Right.
So
I guess was at Steak 44 the other night with my wife on our anniversary, and I got a phone call. and I pretended to pick it up, and she was so she was so mad, and I was like, hello, and she was like, are you serious right now? And I was like, gotcha. You know, like, but it's hard.
Yeah. Do not disturb. It's okay to so someone else's emergency isn't my emergency.
Yeah.
You know.
And if it is, that's why, you know, a team is great too. You know, so sometimes I can say, oh, this is an emergency and I can't help with this right now. So I can rely on my team to help. And that happens all the time. So like team's good for, of course, like leveraging stats, and your broker could do that too. But support and culture, I mean, culture's a big thing, and having like-minded people around you. But it's, to me, it's supposed to be kind of like a family. It kind of sounds cliche. Maybe
it's
lame.
true. It's true.
But yeah, you know.
Because a family will always back you up, right?
Right.
And that was one of the things I'm learning as a building my business is like a family will always have your back,
Right.
and random people won't.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think that's important. And Carson, I really, man, your energy is just amazing, and
Thanks.
I'm like, maybe I should.
He has more energy than me.
Maybe I should join Carson's team. You know, I don't know. Who knows?
yeah, me too.
I tell everyone,
know,
get
don't
your
do
real estate
rentals
license.
anymore.
I mean,
You
it
never
doesn't hurt.
You never know. Maybe Colin and Co has the property management arm, and I'm on his team. You never know. Who knows?
I would love that.
You know, surround yourself with good people, but we really value your time and being present here with us.
Thanks for being
I love
present
that.
here.
To be
Absolutely.
present. You know, as I was listening to you, the things that I learned, that what I'm going to take away from you is, in business, it's about relationships, listening to what the client's needs are. You know, listening, really, what do they really want, and then advising them. But you only advise them after that you listen.
Right.
And you can't listen if you don't have a relationship. And so as I go this week, I'm really thinking when I talk to my clients, like, what are they trying to tell me?
Right.
And then pause and act in their best interest, because ultimately it's their biggest investment.
Sure.
Whatever you're buying, you're investing in something, whether you're buying a house, property, or, you know, merch.
True.
You know, you're investing in something. So I'm going to think about that as I go through the week. What do you think, Luis? What's your big, like, Carson?
There's two things actually. Yeah, my two
hear
takeaways
it.
from you is like you're a doer, and
Oh, yeah.
I resonate with that a lot because, like I said, like people can talk about it all they want, but they don't do anything with it.
True.
So you're mostly a doer, and that's some of the things I resonate with you, and I'm gonna implement even more that in my business, like not being afraid of doing it, right? And another thing is building meaningful relationships, because that's when you're building a business, building a meaningful relationship brings you more than just a transaction.
Right.
So those are some of the things I learned, and I really admire your work, bro. And I really think I looked at you as a person that I would like to be in the future, honestly.
Love that. Appreciate it, man.
But we do love that you take away some of your time because your time is valuable. What are some of the social medias, or where can people find you online? Because
So-
what if I want to
Yeah,
mentor?
yeah.
Where am I going to find you?
I'm glad you asked, because like I'm not big into social media, and like, you know, it's funny, like a lot of realtors they're like going through houses and doing that, and like I'm just not. And so like I'm hoping to grow that a little bit more over the years. You can find me, it's just Karsten. I mean, there's not a lot of Karstens out there, so it's Karsten, Colin, Colin. I think my wife added like a little underscore there to match hers. So like, you know, the wife does a lot of social media stuff, but I am really kind of rebranding towards like coaching. You know, I was a coach in soccer, and you know, at the end of the day, like I'm a coach in my day-to-day with my agents. So you'll probably see me start to rebrand more or less as Coach Karsten, and you know, as the team lead. But you can find me on Instagram. That's definitely like the main place I'm active. I'm on Facebook too, like most people. But
Okay,
that's it,
thank you so
man.
much. Well,
Working on YouTube.
yeah.
Working on YouTube.
Yeah,
We can
you
throw
should.
This one on there, man.
You should. YouTube is a major one for your
YouTube is
business. Major
key.
key for your business. You can
Right.
grow it quick. So, well, we want to thank you so much for being on our
Thanks for having
podcast,
me.
right, Peter?
That's right.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having you on, bro. We'll have you on the next episode. Hopefully, you can be again on one of our
Absolutely.
shows. But
Anytime.
Thank you.